There was a name that echoed across the Pacific skies, like the thunder of a warrior god. Richard Bong was a boy from Poplar, Wisconsin, a son of rural America who grew up dreaming of flight, of the freedom that only the sky could offer. When the Second World War erupted, Bong was 22 years old and possessed a determination that burned like fire. He enlisted in the United States Army Air Forces, not for glory, not for recognition, but because his country called him and he answered. No one could have imagined that this young man from Wisconsin would become the greatest ace in American aviation history, a man who would shoot down 40 enemy aircraft, a record that would remain untouched for decades. But Bong was different. He possessed something that could not be taught in any flight school, something that could not be acquired through training. He had pure courage, that courage born from the heart of a man who knows he could die at any moment, but chooses to fly anyway. He had precision, he had instinct, he had the ability to see the enemy before the enemy saw him, and he had a heart that beat for his country, that pulsed with the patriotism that defines the finest sons of America. The P-38 Lightning was an extraordinary aircraft, a twin-engine fighter that possessed speed, firepower, and maneuverability that made it practically unbeatable in the skies of the Pacific. But an airplane is only metal and fuel without a pilot who knows how to use it. Richard Bong transformed the P-38 into an extension of himself, into a living weapon that danced across the skies like lightning in the form of a machine. He flew with a grace that his fellow pilots described as almost supernatural, with a precision that left his enemies with no chance of escape. Each mission was an opportunity to protect his comrades, to defend his nation, to bring the war to the enemy. Bong was not a man seeking kills, not a hunter of glory. He was a soldier who understood his responsibility, who knew that each enemy aircraft he shot down was one less threat to the Americans below. His fellow pilots called him Ace, and the word carried respect, admiration, and a certain reverence. When Bong entered combat, the other pilots knew they were in good hands, that there was someone who would protect them, that there was someone willing to give his life for theirs. Bong's first victories came in 1943, when he was still learning the trade of being a sky hunter. But quickly, he became lethal. His first confirmed kill was followed by another, then another, then another. The numbers grew with frightening consistency. While other pilots accumulated 1 or 2 victories during the entire war, Bong accumulated victories as if he were harvesting fruit from an infinite tree. His fellow pilots watched in admiration as he flew mission after mission, facing enemies who were often in greater numbers, who were often in advantageous positions, and yet still emerging victorious. There was something almost mystical about his ability to survive, to win, to return home day after day. Journalists began to notice. Generals began to pay attention. Soon, Richard Bong became a living legend, a symbol of American superiority in the skies, a hero who embodied everything America believed itself to be: courageous, determined, invincible. But Bong remained humble. He remained focused on his mission. He remained committed to his comrades. He knew he was just one man, that luck was involved, that there were many other equally brave pilots who had not had the same opportunity to accumulate so many victories. As victories accumulated, Bong began to approach the previous record, which stood at 26 confirmed kills. No one had ever reached 40 before. No one had imagined it was possible. But Bong flew as if the impossible were merely a challenge to be overcome. Each mission was an opportunity. Each encounter with the enemy was a chance to add another number to his total. His fellow pilots watched him with a mixture of admiration and concern. They knew that the higher he flew, the more victories he accumulated, the bigger the target on his back became. The Japanese knew who Richard Bong was. They knew he was dangerous. They knew that if they could shoot him down, it would be a significant blow to American morale. But Bong continued flying, continued winning, continued returning. His blue eyes remained focused, his hands remained steady on the controls, his heart continued to burn with the fire of patriotism. He flew not just for himself, but for every American who had died in the war, for every mother who prayed for her son's safety, for every wife who waited for her husband's return. The 30th victory came, then the 35th. Bong was breaking records that seemed untouchable. His name began to appear in newspapers across the country. America had a new hero, a new symbol of hope and victory. But there was a cost to this fame, a price that Bong paid every day. He knew he could not fly forever, that luck would eventually run out, that one day he might not return. His fellow pilots saw the weariness in his eyes, saw the tension in his shoulders. But Bong continued, because that is what an American soldier does, because there was a war to be won, because there were comrades who depended on him. When he reached his 40th confirmed kill, the entire sky seemed to celebrate. Richard Bong had done the impossible. He had established a record that would remain as a monument to his courage, his skill, his determination. No other American pilot would ever equal that number. No other pilot would ever reach that peak of excellence. But Richard Bong's story did not end with the war. After completing his mission in the Pacific, he was brought back to the United States, where he was received as a national hero. Cities welcomed him, crowds cheered him, politicians wanted to be photographed at his side. Bong was the face of American victory, the living symbol of the superiority of American pilots. He gave speeches, participated in fundraising events, helped inspire a nation that had sacrificed so much. But Bong remained the same humble man from Wisconsin. He did not allow himself to be corrupted by fame. He did not become arrogant with success. He understood that he had been blessed, that he had had opportunities many did not have, that he had survived when many did not survive. And with that understanding came a responsibility. The responsibility to honor those who had fallen, to represent with dignity the sacrifice that had been made. After the war, Bong remained in the Air Force. He continued flying, continued serving his country. But in 1945, only weeks after the end of the war in the Pacific, a tragedy occurred that shocked the nation. Richard Bong was testing a new experimental jet when something went wrong. The aircraft failed. The man who had survived 40 aerial combats, who had faced the best pilots Japan had to offer, who had been blessed with an almost supernatural luck in the skies of war, did not survive an accident in peacetime. He was 24 years old. His death was a devastating blow to America, a cruel reminder that death does not discriminate between hero and common man, between war and peace, between young and old. But his legacy remained intact. Richard Bong had left his mark on history, had established a standard of excellence that no one else would reach, had demonstrated what an American could do when called to duty. Richard Bong's record of 40 confirmed kills remains to this day as the highest number of aerial victories of any American pilot. No other pilot from the United States has ever equaled it. No other pilot has ever surpassed it. It is a silent monument to his extraordinary skill, his incomparable courage, his unwavering determination. When historians study the Second World War, when they analyze the air campaign in the Pacific, the name of Richard Bong always appears as one of the greatest. Not just as an excellent pilot, but as a symbol of the best that America could offer. A young man who answered the call of his country, who dedicated himself completely to his mission, who sacrificed his safety and his peace for the freedom of others. His P-38 Lightning remains in museums, a silent monument to his flights, his victories, his courage. The story of Richard Bong is the story of America in its purest essence. It is the story of a boy from Wisconsin who became a legend. It is the story of courage, of determination, of patriotism. It is the story of a man who understood that there was something greater than himself, that there was a cause worth fighting for, worth dying for. When we look back on that period, when we study that war, when we contemplate the legacy of men like Richard Bong, we must remember that freedom is not free. It must be defended. It must be protected. It must be valued. Richard Bong paid the ultimate price for the freedom we enjoy today. He paid with his life, with the years he did not live, with the family he never had, with the children who were never born. And for that reason, his name deserves to be remembered. His courage deserves to be celebrated. His sacrifice deserves to be honored. Richard Bong was more than a pilot. He was a hero, he was a symbol, he was an American in the deepest sense of the word.